A lot of people are really emotionally suffering right now, and it's projected to get worse. Just about everywhere you go, people are talking about financial collapse all over the world and food shortages, and some people are talking about global predators. People are upset about vaccines they think are unsafe, or people who won't take the vaccine and are hurting other people. And in the US, it's the gun owners don't like the people who want them to have gun rules or even take the guns, and the people who don't like guns are the left versus the right. Both sides talk about the other side as if they were evil people. I'm not talking about some of the political figures and some of the corporations who fund some of these, but just the people. Their families are divided. I know people during last election with Trump and this election with Biden who don't speak to members in their families, and I've seen this in my own family. This just everything I do is about peace and joy, contentment. So this talk is about celebrating goodness. There's no other way. If you want peace, if you want real true peace, if you want real true joy in your heart, if you want to feel like you love yourself and other people, if you just want to feel love in your heart, some sort of contentment that there's only one way. Celebrate goodness. Discover goodness. Look for goodness. Cultivate a sense of your awareness of goodness. That seems silly and naive, right? When our minds are worried, you've got to be a realist. And a realist, when my mind and other people I know, when they're saying we're got to be real, and the world's horrible and we're horrible, and some people just blame everyone and overlook their own issues, and some people blame themselves and just focus on how inadequate they feel and seem to be. Sometimes people do both, but here's what's not going to fix your peace. Things your mind tell you. Blame, judgment, criticism, obsessing over, like if you're worried about whatever things I just said, like the global predators or the unvaccinated or the vaccine manufacturers or the left wing or the right wing or those independents who blow it for everybody because they want something to, or whatever it is. If you focus on that, if you worry about that, I promise you, no matter how hard you focus on it, no matter how much you worry, no matter how much you hate people and hate corruption and march, or I'm not anti-activism or supporting the causes you believe in. I'm talking about internally, what's going to bring you the ability to just get up in the morning and feel like no matter what happens. This isn't a talk about how to get everything you want, which we also is a mind strategy. Well, if I get everything I want, then I'll be happy. Well, that doesn't happen. It's great for selling courses. You can get some of the things you want with the right attitude and hard work and visualization and all that, but everyone will not suddenly behave. everyone will not suddenly behave, even if you become a multi-millionaire or billionaire, or get your soulmate or whatever it is you're looking for. Look, I mean, I know people with illnesses. I know people who are dying. If they just focus on their terror, which is normal and understandable, but if they just focus on their terror and what they don't want, they're not living. They're not living in the sense of peace and joy, and they are living the best they can. And there's no shame and guilt if you don't have money, or if you're poor, or especially if you're hungry or need shelter. Find a way to get food and get shelter. But I mean, I have story after story. There's a really cool story I heard once about this man was telling a story about his father, and when he was a boy, they lost everything in like a flood, and he has a vivid memory of being in some sort of like a rowboat with the only possessions they had. Everything was gone, washed away, and they had, I don't know what they had, a few clothes. Rowing this boat to try to find shore, housing, I don't know, but his dad's singing like a country western song because he doesn't know any song, but he's focusing on, we're gonna get through this, focusing on the love of his wife and his family, and I know someone, a friend of mine, who was dying of cancer, and to the point where the doctors gave him enough pain medicine and said, well, if you were to take blah 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 doses at this interval, you probably die in your sleep, and that's illegal, so don't do that, but here's a whole bunch of this medicine. And I don't know what he did. I'm not, this is not an advocate for either or against, but that's just how serious it was. And 2 weeks ish before he passed, something came up in him, sense of goodness. Now, here's the thing we all dread, most of us all dread, right? Terminal illness and getting sick and wasting away, and not, dying. Most of us are terrified of dying. And he was comforting his friends. He was glowing from within with this sense of goodness, telling people everything's okay. So most of us get this idea, if we just focus on, I know a person right now who I dearly, dearly love, who's focusing on his version of politics and the vaccine issue. I'm not going to say which side he's on, but I mean, he's not speaking to people in his family who aren't following what he says they should do. He's not even asking what they think. He's not interested in their opinion. He said something like he believes it's his mission in life to change people into doing what he believes in this issue. I know every time someone was elected that disagreed with my mother's political party growing up, she would cry and she would say, we're sunk. We're never going to make it now. But just general people I know who are just depressed, who are very anxious, who do not resonate love and peace and joy, and most people don't. They have it in their head that if they just worry enough, if you just judge people enough, if you get angry enough, if you just was on a bus to go see, I think it was the Harry Potter Museum in London, some outside of London, or it could have been C.S. Lewis's, he is, but house. But my wife and I were on a bus trip, and then this young fella was talking to this group of people and complaining about the government and corruption, and I think I agreed with a lot he was saying, but I mean, he was so, and he got off the bus, those people like, stay angry. Stay angry. And some of you people are saying, well, if you don't stay angry, nothing will get done. When you're depressed and anxious and angry, creativity is not flowing. So you can, when I say peace, it doesn't mean apathy. When I say joy, it doesn't mean people are getting murdered beside you and you're just like, oh, murder, I love it. Oh, corruption, pollution. No, 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 no. It's insane. This kind of, we're getting into some weird mental positions these days. I saw a debate about some young angry person talking about things that weren't right in the world, and probably everything they mentioned could use improvement. But they were arguing about, well, do your own personal life matter, whether you do good or not, whether you're happy or not? No, it doesn't matter. They were absolutely no, until climate change and trans rights and racism's fixed, till whatever, what all these things are fixed. And if you don't like those things, just insert something you like, but just whatever. I can't speak to everybody. I'm just saying what I think they were upset about. And it was like, so they don't think that they deserve anything good, and they don't think that if they do good in the world, it will somehow help the causes they believe in. So they could steal and cheat and murder and be mean, and somehow that was going to help the world because they were fighting for these other causes. And I mean, it's like saying, well, we'll fix the boat's leaking over there, fix that, while you're drilling a hole in the boat right where you are. I was in an environmental movement when I was really young, and I went to this camp out, and a lot of people were having substance abuse issues. And I was thinking, I said to someone, like, dude, a lot of people got to fix their own internal pollution. Maybe focus on that before you try to fix other people. There was a saying by a fella, said something about when you try to get the splinter out of somebody's eye, don't do that. Worry about like the big giant log in your eye or something like that. But our minds want to fix the outside world because our minds want to feel good. They want you to feel good no matter what you do. If you're chasing partying and chasing women or chasing men, or if you're wanting to volunteer and live a life of service, if you want to travel and you want to post on Instagram or just travel, or if you want to start your own business, if you want to. And so I'm all for achievement. I'm also all for non-achievement. I definitely know people who aren't into achievement who have peace. 100%. Peace is pretty rare, but I do know, and it is possible to not be into achievement or fixing the world. I gotta fight for this. I gotta fight for that. So you can find peace and still work on social issues and work on things. You'll be more effective because hating people, like, have you ever noticed in an argument when you yell your position and they yell their position and you get louder, you just repeat yourself over and over and over because your mind is afraid and it thinks they're not hearing me. And so it just says it louder. And that person is afraid they're not hearing me. I don't know if you've ever done this, but if you catch yourself in an argument and be like, I'm not listening. Okay, I'm going to stop yelling. Like, just tell me your position. and treat them with respect and honor inside yourself, it'll permeate to them. Things will shift. If you really, really, truly want to get to know people, it'll change your life. It'll change your life. And so I say, cultivate goodness. There is no other way. Your mind wants to feel good. It wants you to feel good. Fixing the outer world, fixing other people. I'm not going to say something like there are always going to be problems, so don't do anything, but there's always going to be problems. If this planet makes we could, some people have prophesied, a lot of people have prophesied, we could shift into a golden age. Some people call it heaven on earth in certain religions, and some people call it golden age. Some people say the good people will be taken up to, heaven or whatever. So, I mean, not everyone says this, but a lot of places have said, and that's all fine. But even then, a golden age would just mean we're okay with there being issues. And because we're okay with there being challenges in life and differing opinions and all that, then we'll feel better. People who talk about unity, and that means eliminating people who disagree with us. I hear that a lot these days, and I'm like, we would have unity if we could just kill those people. That's implied. If they would just be like us. So anyways, golden age or not, you'll have peace, and society will have peace when people turn towards their hearts and turn towards each other. And so what's practically things we can do? What's practical things we can do? Well, for one thing, you can do deep breathing into your heart area. You can just breathe into your heart area and just make an intention, maybe ask if you believe that there's a power greater than you that you can ask, but just help me cultivate a sense of goodness inside of me and all around me. And then breathe into your heart area and just feel your heart, our precious hearts. We lose it when we focus on anger and judgment and blame and criticism and fear-based, separation-based living. The mind is all about fear and separation. Your heart is all about joining. It's all about hugging people, holding their hand. You don't have to get too crazy with it, but you just let your heart thaw out some. And I say this to anybody watching, no matter how, if you believe your heart's fully open, that's a sign that your heart's closed in ways that you don't know it. My heart's not fully open. No one's fully open. But if it begins to open, you will notice you're softer and gentler and kinder, more empathetic, more compassionate with yourself and with other people. What's some other things you can do? Well, you can go out in nature. You can be around bodies of water. If you can't get outside, watch like little clips of the ocean or nature. Do things to kind of take you out of your head. You can do athletic things, like some people do skydiving and kayaking and all these things to get out of their head, and that's cool. But it's adrenaline, and we're talking about just letting your heart expand. When you got adrenaline, it's kind of hard to be in your heart, but nothing wrong with it. I'm just saying. So nature and heart breathing, and ask and intend to have your heart open. People don't seem to understand the strength and the courage and the value of gentleness, of being gentle. And doesn't mean you can't take up for yourself and take up for what's right in this world. But instead of focusing on trying to force things to happen, focus on What feels right to you? What feels right? If you're into praying, pray to have wisdom and guidance. What feels right in each situation? When you speak, does it feel right in your heart? Does it feel harsh, critical, when you take actions? So, yes, other things you can do is walking. None of these you're playing music or listening to like how to become a better person or even a story. These are quiet times. You can sit in silence, especially in nature, but in your own house, just sit with no agenda. Just feel your feelings and listen to your thoughts and just cultivate a sense of quietness. Instead of trying to entertain yourself away or be angry or set goals, and not saying any of these are wrong, including your feelings of anger, just slow down a little silence, a little breathing, a little nature time, and sense of goodness. Just begin to notice like how your heart wants to do good. Your heart wants to be a good person and it may want things, it may want goals, it has dreams, but you care about people. Most of us are so shut off from caring about people because we've been hurt and we think that other people, we feel so inadequate. We think other people are out to get us or they won't believe in us. And those are all fears. You waken up your heart, you will find the courage and the strength to start to get to know people, get to know the people around you, like Uber drivers, bus drivers. If you're married, try to just watch your spouse without an agenda, without trying to fix them. Even if you're going to leave them, even if you hate their guts, just watch them. You don't have to stay with them. I don't know what you should do. Your kids, instead of having an agenda and trying to fix them, just watch them. I love watching my boys. Oh my gosh. It gives me so much pleasure to just watch them. And if I'm down the hall and studying, I keep them, or working, or studying, I'll have my door open. I'll hear them. They're singing or they're talking. It's wonderful. I love to watch my wife. I love to just, what is she like? What is she afraid of? What does she really want? Look how cute she is when she's doing this. And this isn't me looking down on her. This is me really getting to know her. And you can do that with yourself. This is probably another talk, but you can just watch yourself. Watch how hard and sincere you are. And if you have issues, watch how your heart doesn't like the fact you have those issues and you're kind of confused and frustrated because you don't know what to do. And we'll do a talk about that too, but you don't have to try to fix your problems. When you focus on goodness and expanding your heart, a lot of problems fall away. They just maybe gently, slowly over time, you begin to notice that you're less angry or less strict or I was going to say cruel, but thinking of harsh with people, right? You're just gentle, you're soft, you become more self-aware and more emotionally resilient. You have to kind of parent yourself like, okay, you're doing a good job. It's okay. You didn't put yourself, none of us programmed ourselves. And so we all struggle with things, and it's okay to struggle. It's part of the human experience. It's to be expected. Personal challenges and external challenges, which are just humans like you who are not perfect, just like you are not perfect, and they're out in the world doing the best they can, and sometimes they really screw things up, just like we do. Other things you can do is, read books that are nourishing to your soul, that gives you hope. You can watch movies and listen to music that stirs your soul. I mentioned walking. You could do some exercise or something gentle. Like nothing wrong with starting some P90X program or something, but it's kind of hard to be in your heart when you've got to push through that hard. So, sprint a little or do some weights. I like to do weights for like light weights for me. 15 to 20 minutes. Just feel my body move. If you focus on, make your intention and your prayer, if you're into praying, but your intention, I want to cultivate goodness in me, a sense of the goodness of me, not being a saint, not being somebody that you don't believe you are at this moment in your life. Just notice, no matter how far down you are, no matter if you're alcoholic or abuse yourself or maybe other people. I'm not saying you shouldn't turn yourself in or go get help. This is not me advocating anything besides you can believe in yourself. You can tell yourself that you're worthwhile. You can tell yourself that you are good. You were made good. And if you got traumatized as a kid and you've made some bad choices, because if you believe, like if I think I've said this recently, but I'm going to say it again. If you were taught from your childhood that you were an elephant, but you were human, and you started to eat hay or make elephant sounds, and you have memories of doing that, okay. Well, at some point you may start to think, I'm not an elephant, but then you have all those memories. So if you think you're a bad person, because you have all these memories, look, I was an alcoholic, and it's not just that. I got other string of things I wish I've never done. And on one hand, another hand, I've grown and matured and learned a lot. But, when I was an alcoholic, I thought I was a bad person. I thought I was an alcoholic. And when I look back, I'd say, well, look at all those things I've done. I'm a bad person. I have evidence. Look at all the things I've done. I'm a bad person. Well, once I started to believe that there was goodness in me, my heart started to open up. I didn't do those things as much, and then hardly at all, and then maybe not at all, or just maybe almost never. And then my mind has new evidence. Oh, well, yeah, you don't do those anymore. I guess you're not the bad person I thought you were. So if you want to feel good, and I know you do, whether your mind will let you know it or not, you've got to just cultivate a sense of goodness in yourself and in others, in the world, in the beauty of nature. You will notice that you'll get intuition and guidance and creative thoughts and ideas on how to solve world problems. Or you may, some things you're obsessed with right now, you may continue to work on it, but in a new, more powerful way, because you're a lot more powerful when you're in your heart. Or you may decide, well, that's not my thing. Maybe your thing is to help other people get in their heart. The way to change the world. Two things I say to people. If you don't want the bad guys to win, you insert who the bad guys are. Well, they win if you're just miserable. Even if you stop them and you're miserable, they've won. So if you feel good about yourself, they haven't won. Even if they do the thing you don't want them to do. Say they global predators take over. And I'm not saying we shouldn't stop them. But say they do. Well, if everyone's in their heart, it's kind of hard to be, when you're an evil person, you want people to suffer. And if they're not suffering, it's sort of like, I fought so hard to do all this and everybody's joined together. And plus, if we all join together, we can't be controlled. But that's another story. But also, if you want to change the world, any kind of issue you care about, there's research from the Gottmans. I think I'm gonna get their names wrong, so I'm gonna forget. I did know till I started giving this little talk, but they have some research that says that they can predict a marriage with certain factors, and one of those main factors, divorce in a marriage, is the level of appreciations to criticism. So appreciations, they say, has to be at a minimum 7 to 1. So a heartfelt, genuine appreciation. So you're married to somebody and gosh, you look beautiful today. Wow, thank you so much for breakfast. Or, I can always count on blah, 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 blah about you. And if a criticism slips, it's 1 and 7 to make it all right. And that's the minimum. I think most of us have realized that if you haven't, it didn't take but just a tiny bit of observation. When you criticize yourself enough, and especially you notice with other people, they don't change. You can scare little kids, or if you're abusive, you might scare into somebody complying when they're around you, but that's not the same. People complain. I grew up with my mother criticizing my father for how he ate. He ate too much, according to her, and for all my childhood, and I would take up for him. I get so mad, and so he passed away last year, about a year ago, maybe a year and a month, and maybe she didn't criticize him for what he ate in the last 6 months of his life, or at least when he was really ill, because I know she's very kind, but there wasn't probably at least a month that didn't go by, maybe 2 or 3 months, but sometimes it was every day. For, I don't know, they were married 60-something years. Guess what? It didn't change him. I'm not saying if she had let it go, that it might have changed. But you never know. This isn't about this talk is about how to use compliments to get what you want. But I will say that criticism won't get you what you want. And some people can really be mean to themselves and sort of white knuckle through life with just horrendous criticism of themselves and being mean. But it's a very stiff and rigid, and there's some research also from the Gottmans on kids and their stress level and their belief in themselves and their emotional intelligence, and based on hooking up the kids and the parents to these wires, and if I remember correctly, and watching the kids play a video game, and there was like basically 3 types of parents, and they noticed in the research, and one parent would like point out, like, oh, be careful, here comes that monster again, or it's a left turn, be sure and go right, here's that thing again, and just try to be very helpful. I guess a fourth would be ones that are just abusive parents, but I don't think anybody on camera would do that. But these were just negative focus, like how to look out for danger and how to try to do well in the game by correcting bad behavior and mistakes. And then there was parents that were just kind of laid back and just like, I'll let him play or her play, let them play. And then there was the ignore everything, and then, oh man, that was a great way to go, I can't believe you got, that's amazing, you're doing great. So the parents had just ignored all the quote unquote mistakes of the learning process, and just gave it attaboys, attagirls, good job, and all that, and genuine. And they noticed, as you probably already guessed, that the parents who pointed out the critical things, even though they might have been trying to be positive by pointing out negative things, the kids were more stressed, and they were like afraid to learn. They learned the game the slowest. It's like they're afraid of learning because they didn't want to make a mistake. And then there's the neutral parents, and the kids definitely were way less stressed and learned the game pretty fast. And then the parents that were just positive focused, good job, way to go. That was a good way to go. They learned the fastest and had the least amount of stress symptoms in their body. They're actually having fun learning. And so that's just another example, right? Kids learn video games. They feel good. Kids learn better when they feel good. And highly abused kids at school don't learn that well, right? Because they're stressed. Listen to a talk by a man talking about ADHD and ADD, I guess, in school, and they're really highly sensitive kids, and some ways they're just feeling the stress of their parents and maybe the teachers in the classroom, and it's hard for them to focus because they're really sensitive to what's going on, and there's stress all around them, and so it's hard for them to learn. As we talked about the Gottman's research and how mean we are to ourselves, and the kids learn the video game, like if you have an open heart, people around you will change. People around you will change. And I have story after story in my own life of people I wasn't trying to change. I was just getting to know and spontaneously listening to them, and whatever came out of my heart, I said. But their lives were changed. It's not me trying to fix them or heal them or change them. Their lives just changed. And there's people who've done the same for me. And the world is going to change. True change in the world is going to come from open-hearted people. We think we can legislate morality. We think we can legislate higher values. We think we can legislate peace and joy. It ain't going to happen. It's not going to happen. In some ways, governments and corporations represent the state of human consciousness, and as our hearts open and we evolve, governments will just naturally change. With or without effort. I'm not saying there won't be effort. Corporations will change, whatever it is you don't like. But our view of right and wrong and our view of other people will also evolve into more healthy, more peace-filled, and more hope-filled. As we evolve, the world evolves. There's a saying I really like: when you make peace with yourself, if you make peace within yourself, if you cultivate peace within yourself, or say goodness, you make peace with the world and everyone in it. Don't take that as passive. It doesn't mean you're just going to sit there and let people abuse you or other people. I know that's a really big resistance right now. People think we've got to take action and I can't care about myself because that would be selfish. You're not effective until you're in your heart. And the world doesn't truly change. You can stop people. You can make legislation to force people to act a certain way. That's just hell. It's just hell. Heaven is open-hearted. Heaven is feeling good about yourself and other people in the world. Genuinely noticing the beauty all around in you and in everyone. And if you can't see it and you don't want to see it, and you don't believe in the value, see it, I'm sure you're not listening. Your mind has convinced you that if you just hate enough or you just fight hard enough, that somehow you can change the world by holding a gun to everybody's head. Act correctly. All right. Well, Talk to you again soon. Bye.